We're ready to start, right, Kayla? Awesome. I was hoping for a thumbs up. Excellent. All right. Hey everybody, this is Foxtrot Evenings and Weekends Platoons, our graduation and final presentations. Thank you everyone for attending this Foxtrot Evenings, Weekends, Platoons Graduation Final Project Showcase. My name is Jordan. I am one of the 4 software engineer instructors here at Code Platoon's part-time program. And I'd like to thank the whole team and our volunteers and our mentors and our teaching assistants and our board members who they all do work pretty hard behind the scenes to kind of keep this train moving and make this program a success. There's a lot of people who kind of don't show up every day. You don't see them on camera who do give us a lot of support and help and kind of make things just happen for us so we can do our job. I'd also like to, thank our dedicated volunteer resume coaches and our guest speakers we've had, throughout this program for giving great presentations for this cohort. It is support of these volunteers, and I've already kind of said that, but it is the support of these volunteers that help provide real-world industry learnings and experiences for our graduates and prepare them for successful careers. For those of you watching this, and I'm sure there are many who are not familiar with Code Platoon, we are a nonprofit coding boot camp with a mission to help veterans, active duty service members, and military spouses as they launch their successful careers as software engineers. That's what we're here to do. These graduates have just completed an intense and pretty long, immersive 28-week program, a lot of evenings, a lot of Saturdays. Every day they've been in class, they have written software. 28-week, is that right? Yeah, forget it. Double that. As they've learned new computer science and software engineering concepts and skills. The group projects you will see here this afternoon are the results of these graduates applying what they've learned over the past months. There we go. And we'll roll into that now. So here are our group presentations. After each presentation, there's going to be a short time for questions. So feel free to put those in the comments and we will address them as best we can. So I'd like to announce, let me skip slide. There we go. Here we go. First group is going to be reputable restrooms. I'm going to turn that over to you, Tim. Will you stop sharing? There we go.
All right. On behalf of Group 1, I am going to present to you reputable restrooms. You know what you're thinking? Does it slice? Does it dice? No, the answer to that question is no. And I can hear out there, you're thinking, well, if it doesn't do that, what on earth could it possibly do? Well, have you ever been out and been struck by that sudden call of nature? You need to find yourself a restroom? Well, our app will help you find the cleanest and the closest restroom to fit your needs. Next slide. Well, here we should have, there we go, introduction. My name is Charles Lovelace, and spent 2 years in the Marine Corps Reserve, 12 years active duty as a flight officer. My day job, I'm a training manager at Amazon. I'm currently in the Navy Reserve, closing in on 19 years of total service at the end of this year. So that's me in a nutshell. Over to you, Tim.
My name's Tim Hughes. I'm a full stack software engineer. I was in the United States Army, and I am happy to be here.
My name is Vincent Russo. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I currently work as an electrical engineer, and I'm looking to go into software. Our other project member was Jordan Anderson, who's not here today. I believe he was in the Army for 6 to 8 years, airborne, and he's currently working as a full stack software engineer. Next slide. So going into the project scope and our goals, essentially what the minimal viable product was, we wanted to set out to develop an app that allows users to find nearby restrooms. We wanted an option for them to enter a location and find restrooms in the areas near them, have them display on Google Maps with pins, getting the longitude and latitude. so that they could see where they are. We wanted there to be ways to review them and rate them, so you know what the quality is before you go to them. And we wanted people to be able to do their own reviews and to rate them themselves. We also wanted an account system to allow people to log in and create an account to access the main page. With that being said, we're going to go through a demonstration of what the website ended up looking like. Over to you, Tim.
So upon navigating to reputable restrooms, the user will be prompted to create a profile. After the user creates a profile, they're prompted to log in. And the user will search for the location they're looking for a restroom. The API will respond with the closest restrooms to you. You click on a rating and click on a restroom, and you can see the rating and the most recent review, as well as the average rating for the reviews. On uploading a review, the review or the average rating will update. You can also go in and edit your review. And again, the rating will update. The Google Maps API automatically autofills. And back to you.
So I can go back to PowerPoint. Thanks. So going into the tech that we used for collaboration and overall project design, for communication, we exclusively used Zoom and Slack. To actually create the project and write the code, we used Visual Studio Code. To host and manage the project files, we used GitHub, and hosting the website was done with AWS, Amazon Web Services. Next slide.
All right, so for the front end, we use React, Bootstrap, NPM, and Docker. Pretty good things to use, very good tools. And for languages, we elected to go with TypeScript primarily because it's versatile and allows us to have kind of a modern touch. We put things together, and then we were easily able to handle the pages with HTML and CSS for the styling. So in the long run, I think it saved us an awful lot of time. Next.
For the back end, Django was used to develop the models for the database. Postgres SQL was used for the actual database design, and we used Docker to containerize everything. And the languages we used was Python and SQL. Python being the language of Django. Django is a framework of Python, and SQL, which is SQL for Postgres, the database design. Next slide.
The third-party APIs that we used were the Google Maps API that Tim showed you, worked really well. And Xyla Labs and Refuge Restrooms helped us populate those lists of restrooms so that we could make the app actually work. So very good choices there. Next slide.
So some of the biggest challenges that we faced while making this product, I know for me, the major thing was working with TypeScript. I'd only done JavaScript in the past, and it's essentially the same exact thing. It's not dynamic variables, it's all statically typed. So I had to kind of learn a lot about TypeScript in order to use it. We had some issues with project management, working with GitHub, version control, all the merge in. We had 4 people working on this, so it was a bit challenging to keep it all together. And we had some issues with authentication. I didn't know too much about doing authentication for the front end. How do we protect routes that users can go to? So had to do some learning on that. Watch some videos, read some documentation. It all ended up coming together at the end. Next slide.
So future project goals, we're looking to add functionality to upload images. I think you could see there were images on the video. Those are kind of placeholders in the meanwhile. We're going to add a profile page for the users so they can update their information there. And then we also want to allow users to add restrooms to the database. I mean, understanding that some folks are going to add a lot of trees in the woods, but we want to get that in there so that if there's something that doesn't pop up on Google Maps that they found that's good, they can put it in. It would also allow us to cover stuff like, porta johns and stuff that are temporary. And then we want to create a mono repo and start building it in React Native so we can turn this into a mobile app. That's kind of our long-term goal. So the team is actually going to keep working on this sucker after we're done. So we enjoyed working together. We're going to keep doing it. And then we're going to convert the web app to a landing page where you can download the app once we've kind of got that fired off. So, and that is it. Thank you all very much for that. Appreciate you listening to our little presentation there. And open for questions.
I've got one. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I like stretch goals and I like, hearing what you struggle with. What would you do differently if you had to start on this from scratch today? I threw away all your code and you had to build it again. How would you change your approach?
For me, I would say we would start with the back end before the front end. We initially started this by creating the front end and creating mock data with models that didn't accurately map to the back end. So there was a lot of work that had to be redone. And then I think we would have probably divide and conquered a little bit, where we would have been able to have a couple people working on the uploading reviews while a couple people worked on the uploading photos, because that's what we wanted for this project. But that's it for me. Vincent or Charles?
Tim pretty much said what I would say. For me, though, I think, the biggest thing would be how did we divide it up the project better? I think maybe thinking about who should do what better, and not really sure what I'm trying to say here. Delegation, delegate it better, essentially. Charles, if you have anything.
I don't really have a whole lot to add. I mean, I personally struggled a little bit with linking up the back end to the front end, kind of like digging through that. So a lot of learning had to happen. So I think a little bit of hindsight, I probably would have researched a little bit more into that and maybe done a little bit more research into TypeScript on the, to kind of get me a little bit more up to speed on those linkages. So everything could be built with that in mind rather than, as an after effect kind of a.
All right. Yeah, sounds good to me. I like it. Well, good job on that. And let's go to the next project. It's going to be Trek Tracker. Can Trek Tracker's representative please share their screen?
Good morning. Our group for our final project, we were very passionate about nature and national parks in general, so we created the Trek Tracker app for our final project. We're going to move into introductions next, please. So we're going to starting with Michael. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Michael Meyer. I'm a U.S. Army vet and part of the Trek Tracker team.
Matt Hemsworth. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran and located in Omaha, Nebraska.
I'm Ricardo De La Rosa. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I'm located in Houston, Texas.
Raymond Frederick, Marine Corps veteran, located or based out of Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hello, I am Katia Burgos Rodriguez. I am a military spouse, and my spouse is affiliated with the U.S. Army, and I am in San Antonio, Texas.
So our motivation for this project was really three big things: was promoting discovery of national parks, the educational value, educating the youth, educating people, and creating lasting memories for friends and family. Some of the features that we included were providing different national parks within the United States, some helpful weather alerts that could give you some information and make your trip more enjoyable, and then also some activities that you were looking to do. Something that we would like to implement in the future, or some thought that we had for the motivation, was having some sort of way to share and plan with your friends. But that's something that we would like to implement at a future time. And now Katya is going to go through a demo through the project for us.
Okay, thank you, Raymond. So I am going to walk you through a demo of Trek Tracker. I am someone that really enjoys visiting national parks, and I recently heard about a web app called Trek Tracker that lets me document my visits and also discover new parks to visit in the future. So I am going to go ahead and register to see what the service is all about. So I clicked on register, and I'm going to enter my credentials, starting with username, password, first name and last name, and my email. Okay, and we hit submit. I realized that I have a typo in my email address, but hopefully we can fix that after logging in. So now I have to sign into the account that I just created. So entering my credentials again and submit. Okay, so we're now on the landing page, and immediately upon entering, I noticed that there's an image of a park that I haven't visited yet, the Grand Canyon National Park. And I make note of that because it sounds interesting and very beautiful. I have heard a lot about the Grand Canyon, so I definitely want to check that out. So based on what I'm seeing, it sounds like I can document my visits going to the tracker, or I can explore parks if I go into the button on the right side. But for now, I am going to go ahead and click on the tracker because I have some park visits that I want to document. And upon entering, I noticed that the tracker is empty, but that makes sense because I'm a new user. So let's go into add park visit. And so here, about a month ago, or a little over a month ago, I visited Canyonlands. And so I'm going to search for it. I'm about to enter the date that I visited. And again, this was a little over a month ago, so going into May. And over there, I did camping. So I choose camping in my activities, and I also did climbing. And in terms of my experience, it was pretty fun, but honestly, I'm not sure that I would go again. So I'm going to make a note of that so I can remember in the future. Okay, and there is one more park visit that I want to document. So I'm going to hit submit and add new visit. Okay, I see that it was successfully added. So last summer, I went to Big Bend. So let's look for Big Bend. Again, this was last summer, so let me go all the way back to July 2023. Pick my date, and here I did a self-guided tour walking, and I also did kayaking, so noting that in my activities. Now that one was gorgeous, so I do want to make a note of that. And I also want to make a note that I want to take my parents there next time. So I will add that into the description. This time I'm done, so let me press submit. I see that I'm taken back into my tracker. I notice that my 2 visits are logged. I see the date, the description. And I remember that I had the typo in my email, so let me go into account and fix that. So click on the pencil, remove the typo, and I save. Okay, and now I want to go back and find out more information about the Grand Canyon that I saw at the beginning. So let's go to the Explore page and find out more. So I go into Explore and let's enter Grand Canyon. Great, it's automatically giving me that suggestion. I click search. And upon entering the page for the Grand Canyon, I see that it's giving me an overview. That's great. Location, operating hours. And I also noticed that it's giving me some alerts, and all of this information is super useful during my planning stage so that I know what to expect before I go to visit the park. And as I keep scrolling down, I notice that it's even giving me some information about the weather to expect over the next couple of weeks for my reference. And this is all fantastic. And you know what? Let me go ahead and add that to my tracker so that I don't forget. So let's go back, add perk visit. I look for the Grand Canyon. And I recall that I have some time off in September. So let me go ahead and forward on time and add my time off in September. So I challenge myself to do something different. And in terms of activities, stargazing sounds interesting. Let me select that. And how about we also do some hiking? Let's do hiking there. And it's going to be a future visit, so looking forward to it. And with that, I submitted it. Great, and I see everything locked there, even my future visit, so I can remember that this is something that I want to do. With that, I'm done with Trek Tracker for the day, so I'm going to sign out and go on with my day. And with that, that is the completion of the demo, so next slide.
Okay, so here we have the different tools and technologies we used for the project. For the front end, we use HTML, JavaScript, and CSS with React. We also use Material UI and Bootstrap to help with the styling. For the back end, we use Django, Postgres for the database, Docker for containerization, and Amazon Web Services to actually host everything. We used a couple third-party APIs, which you just saw in the demo, specifically the National Parks API. That was where we got the alerts, park descriptions, pictures. And then we also used the National Weather Services API, which pulled the weather for each park. And then for resources, we used ChatGPT. So we use Quick DBD to create our database schema. The schema centers around the visit table, which has a relationship with the park activity and user table. So the park table, as you can see, park and activity table both have just the park name and the park code. And then the user table just has basic information used to create a user account. We used Excalidraw to create a rough website layout. And so we split the website up into 2 sides. The right side, which is where you search for national parks and get information, is the side we used for, we use the third-party APIs for. And then the left side is where we actually use our in-house API to create visits.
So we encountered a couple of challenges as we were developing this app. Posting and retrieving nested objects in Django REST framework, as well as deploying to AWS. For the first one, when we were working on adding the add part visit feature, we encountered a problem with adding the visit to our database. The main issue was that we wanted to add a list of activities, but our backend wasn't set up for it. We made a couple changes to the backend models, including changing to a many-to-many relationship between visits and activities, but that still wasn't functional. The issue turned out to be two different things. First, we designed our backend to inject some data at the start by fixtures in Django. As it turned out, our activity fixture didn't contain all possible activities for each national park. Fixing this was fairly simple. We just updated the fixtures. The second issue had to do with adding visits to the database that were associated with activities that were supposed to be unique. This caused a problem with adding the visits, so making the model attributes not unique solved that problem. The AWS issue that we ran into when we were deploying had to do with the structure of our backend. When we designed our endpoints, we didn't include a little snippet / API. This created an issue with our web server, Nginx, because it was expecting our endpoints to start with that / API. Took us a while to find this, a lot of looking at code for hours. But once we did, the solution was fairly simple. We just adjusted the endpoints in the back end and fixed the URLs on the front end, and things have worked perfectly since then.
So for our next steps, we'll be implementing an edit park visit page. This feature will allow users to update their entries and make changes to the details of their park visits. Whether they want to correct a mistake or provide additional information, this functionality will offer the flexibility they need. Next, to increase the discoverability of new parks, we'll be adding a random webcam or live stream to our homepage. This will provide visitors with a real-time glimpse into various national parks, sparking curiosity and encouraging them to explore new parks they might not have considered before. We also plan to provide detailed information on activities and events happening in each park, from guided tours to hiking trails and wildlife spotting opportunities. Users will have access to a wealth of information to help them make the most of their visits. Integration with social media is another key feature we will be adding. This will allow users to easily share their park visits and experiences directly from our website, fostering a sense of community and encouraging more people to engage with our content. Additionally, we will be adding a trip planning tool. This feature will help users plan their visits by suggesting routes, highlighting must-see attractions, and offering valuable travel tips. By making trip planning easier and more efficient, we aim to enhance the overall experience for our users.
Yep, and that's the conclusion of our presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
We've got a question in the chat. What was your favorite part of working on the Trek Tracker?
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, myself and a couple others, we've been to a few national parks, so it's definitely an interest of ours. So it's pretty fun working with that National Parks API. It has a lot of information, a lot of stuff we actually weren't able to implement. Just it's too much information almost. But just getting to know what each national park has to offer, I guess, which we just kind of discovered throughout the project.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with what Michael said. I also really I just enjoy working on the front end, designing things.
Oh, I was just going to +1 both of them. I thought it was really interesting how, we're building this web app with the intention of exposing users to more national parks. And it's funny because through the experience of building the web app, I was also discovering some new parks and just getting to know like, oh, I didn't even know that this park was located in this state, or that this state had this many national parks. So that was kind of like a fun, non-technical specific aspect of the project. But then also plus one to what Matt said with the front end and just thinking about how to structure everything and present all of this information to users. That was challenging, but also really fun to work with.
Another question, can you say again how you used ChatGPT in your project?
So we, oh, go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say it's ChatGPT is obviously a very powerful tool, and you know, when we get stuck on something, you know, after we exhausted all other resources, then we would kind of just post a question saying like, hey, this is what our current setup is, and this is the error we're getting. Can you make any suggestions on what is causing it? So that's really the extent we use it for. We would check the documentation first, and then, you know, do our own troubleshooting. But yeah, as a last resort, ChatGPT was always there for us.
With most of you or all of you in the group being, you know, interested and passionate about the project, did you find it easier to find common ground and what you wanted to prioritize and what you thought was important, or was it harder because you may or may not have all been very opinionated on, you know, the tool?
So I posed the idea to the group, I believe day one, and the idea came from I'm not sure if anyone's familiar, but if you go to a national park, you can buy a little passport and get a stamp at each national park. So I kind of just thought like, oh, that'd be cool to create a web version for that. And I think as soon as I posted, everyone was on board right away, and that obviously really helped spark like conversation on what features we wanted and how to go about it. So we were all pretty involved in that process, I would say.
Yeah, and also it was, so we all had different ideas of after looking through the API, we were like, oh, this would be really interesting to build something around this particular endpoint or data that we can get from the API. And we all had ideas on how to bring those. And at the same time, we were all kind of on the same page in terms of our limitations when it comes to time and resources. So even though we had all of these ideas, we were kind of frequently revisiting like, okay, this sounds really cool. Like for instance, we talked about the adding a live stream. That sounds really neat, but we probably will not have enough time to do that. So we were constantly updating like a priority, first priority, second priority, and nice to have list, and kind of checking in pretty frequently on how we're doing. And then so yeah, we were very mindful of those limitations.
Excellent. Good stuff. Okay, I think that's all the questions I got and all the questions anyone else has got. Let's go to our final project, which is Evently.
Awesome, Jordan.
Away.
Thank you. Before we kick off and Sandy talks about what exactly Evently is, we're excited to introduce you to our team and showcase the work we've done on our event management application. So without further ado, my name is Dylan Bullock. I currently reside in Madison, Wisconsin, and I am an 8-year Army veteran.
Hi, my name is Sandy. I reside in Hyattsville, Maryland, and I am currently in the Navy Reserves.
I'm Matt Lachey, and I live in Colorado Springs, and I'm an Army veteran.
Hi, I'm Eden. I reside in Georgia and I am in the Army Reserves.
All right, so now we're going to go through a pre-recorded presentation of Evently. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Sandy, and today I'm excited to introduce Evently. I'll talk about what it is, what it offers, and why we decided to build it. So what is Evently? Evently is a web app that makes managing events and guest lists straightforward and efficient. Drawing inspirations from websites such as Partiful and Calendly, is designed to keep everything organized and easy for the host. So what can Evently do? You can quickly set up and manage both events and guest lists. Plus, it connects with third-party tools for location mapping and sends out email notifications to keep everyone in the loop. Now, why Evently? Our goal as a team was to streamline event planning and make it as user-friendly as possible, all while ensuring your data is secure. With features like location mapping and email notifications, we make sure that everyone stays informed and engaged, all while feeling safe and secure. In short, Evently is here to make event planning smoother and more enjoyable. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dylan, who will give you a live demo of Evently.
Thank you, Sandy. When first loading into Evently, you'll be met with a login interface that should feel familiar, as we implemented a lot with React's Material UI. I'm already a registered user, so I'll go ahead and log in now. Once logged in, you'll be met with the Evently dashboard. This is a great place to see all your current events, as well as what days you have free for future events. There are two ways to navigate to your events, by using the side navigation, or by simply clicking on the event itself in the calendar. Let's go check on the Urban Gardening event. In the events window, we get a more granular look at our event details such as date, location, and time. We can also see the current guests that are invited. Speaking of guests, John will no longer be in attendance, so let's remove him from the guest list. Scrolling down further is a map of the location address by way of the Google Maps API, allowing recipients to utilize directions to ensure they know exactly where they need to be. Clicking on the directions option will route the user to the Google Maps page to allow them to explore the area for things to do before or after the event. Heading back, at the top right, the profile icon allows us to log out and view our account. And the bell icon is our current notifications. In the Settings tab, we implemented color profiles and, specifically for Jordan, a dark theme. Removing an event is easy. I noticed that this Coding Bootcamp event is over as of today. Unfortunately, it doesn't need to be on here anymore. By using the Delete Event button, we'll be prompted for confirmation, and the event will be removed from our current events list. Heading back to the home page, let's go ahead and walk you through the process of creating an event for graduation and adding some guests. Let's click on the Create Event button, and here we'll fill out our form. We'll name it Code Platoon Graduation, and we can put really anything for the description. We'll put in today's date and time, and let's just add Chicago, Illinois, and then we'll click Create Event. Clicking on the new event, we have the ability to add some guests. When a guest is added, they will immediately be sent an email to ensure that they are aware of their invitation to the event. For email handling, we utilize Django's built-in SMTP capabilities tied in with a Gmail account that we created. Let's see it in action. For this demonstration, I'm just going to go ahead and add myself. And then successfully added. And once we get the email confirmation, we can see that it contains our event details, and it informs us that we were invited to this specific event. But that about sums it up for the functionality of Evently. Now we'll move on to Matt, who will talk about some of the technologies used to make Evently happen.
Hey everyone, my name is Matt, and today I'm going to walk through the key technologies we use in our project. First, for collaboration, we use GitHub to manage our code as a team. We use Visual Studio Code to collaborate on code development, and Slack for communication. Next, for our backend, we used Django as our core framework, Python is our primary backend language, and Postgres as our database to handle storage and retrieval of events and users. Next, we used the Gmail API for notifications coming from the platform, and the Maps API to display our maps and all our users to generate directions. Next, for our front end, we used React for building our user interface. JavaScript is our backbone for our front end. And finally, for deployment and hosting, we used AWS, specifically their EC2 services to run our servers. We use Docker for containerization and Terraform to manage our configuration and deployment. And with that, I'll pass it off to Eden to talk through the challenges we encountered.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, everyone. I'm Eden, and I will be discussing the challenges that we had and stretch goals that we like to implement in the near future. So to start off with, deployment, sizing of the EC2 instance correctly for the size of the app, and making sure that the app ran smoothly and efficiently. SendGrid API integration. Initially, we built using SendGrid API, but then we switched to an SFTP for email notifications. Authentication in JSON web token, just making sure that the user had authentication the entire session without being interrupted. And of course, we had problems with styling basic layouts and libraries. As far as stretch goals, we would like to add guest notifications, maybe add a guest field. So if the guest is attending the event or not, the event coordinator can have some type of UI interaction reflecting that. We will also like to have some type of AI powered suggestions. So if there's an event going on, it's reflected within the app, and just making sure that the application is mobile friendly. And so that concludes our presentation on Evently. On the behalf of the Evently team, I would like to thank everybody for attending our presentations, and we will be open to some questions now. Thank you.
I am going to ask the same one I asked group one. If I threw away all your code, tossed it, how would you start again today, knowing what you know now?
I think at least for front end development, I would probably earlier on think about scalability as a bigger question, because it seems like when you're developing a UI, it's very easy to like box yourself in, especially with React with its reusable components. You can box yourself in and that component can do a specific function, but what happens when Evently needs to grow, right? Are the components like capable of being able to grow with that, or are you going to have to throw them all out and completely restructure because Evently is growing, that kind of thing? It just makes the idea of reusability a little bit different of a topic to think about.
I think for me, we ran into some issues with deployment around the size of the EC2 instance we were trying to deploy to. And I could have resolved that had I just thought through the size of the file that we were trying to run on the EC2 instance. It would have saved me a lot of time.
I think for me, I mostly worked on the back end. I think we could have spent a little bit more time drawing out what the front end was going to look like, and that way it would be easier on Dylan and the rest of the team. Because I think we built the back end first, and I think when we were doing the front end, it was more like reacting to what we already built on the back end. So definitely just spending a little bit more time, maybe drawing out what the user interface was going to be for the front end.
And for me, I think, because I also worked on the back end as well, I think knowing how the front end, maybe drive like a schematic for the front end, so that way we know how we want it to look like as well. That would probably be something that I struggled.
I know, and this goes to everybody, but Matt, I know you were kind of leading the charge on deploying early, deploying often. Do you think doing that, helped with the issue of EC2 size issues? Are you glad you deployed early, or do you think it would have been the same, less, more complicated if you had just pushed it all at the end? And you think it would have been just as easy to figure out? Are you glad you deployed often, or no?
Yes, I'm very glad. I don't know that we would have finished had I not done it very early. And it made it really easy to test in production once it was ready, because I could just run a few lines of code and deploy again and again.
Interesting. Sounds like a very good idea to do that. Good job. Another question in chat. What was your biggest learning moment while working on Evently? I think we've tapped on this, so if you want to just kind of repeat what you said, or if there's something else that comes to mind. Biggest learning moment working on Evently.
I think for me, it was learning Terraform. It wasn't something we necessarily covered in the curriculum, and I'd had some experience with it outside of this, but just learning how to set it up and configure it was probably what I learned most with.
Yeah, I think for me, it was the authentication part. Matt helped a lot with that. I think he was kind of the driver in that. And I didn't, in my personal project, I didn't really use authentication. So that was definitely a learning curve for me.
For me, I think the biggest takeaway would be sort of this modular collaboration where each one of our team members sort of had their own delegated task and worked on that. And utilizing tools like Git and the things that they offer to help aid that and break those gaps in between like the different modules we were building.
I think for me is that since we are a team and we're working on delegated tasks, all it takes is just one person to for something to happen, and it's kind of messing everybody else up. So that's kind of, but other than that, everything else was fine.
All right. I think that's it for questions. Thank you all. Good job. I'm gonna take back over real quick. There we go. Okay. Well, good job, everyone. As you tell, this concludes the presentation portion of our program. Just a few things to cover before we cut you all loose. We would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the hard work and long hours put in by our TAs. Jesus Alejandro, Noel Biggs, and Philip Basti. All three have been helpful to me, fielding questions and whatnot, and being around to kind of carry that load a little bit, and answering questions at a level that maybe instructors aren't so good at, answering. It's helpful to have somebody who's closer to the students, relative level of knowledge, because sometimes that's the explanation you need, and not someone who's been doing it for a little bit longer and they're rambling off, kilter answers. Let's see. Thank you all, TAs, for y'all's hard work. I really do appreciate it. Here are our instructors. Chad Mowry this was his last cohort, not here today, but he did push through as the lead instructor for a good majority of this. There's me, Umar, who is here with us. Tiffany, new instructor, jumped in late, but she's here and happy to be here, I imagine. And Julia's also not here with us this morning. If any of y'all would like to say something, you can. I'm gonna go ahead and just say my quick bit of very proud of y'all's projects and where y'all are at today, right? 28 weeks ago, I was helping y'all figure out how to print to the screen and how VS Code works and how to not navigate with your mouse and why Vim is superior, but I'm not going to teach it to you. And here we are, today, and you've all got projects, and you can talk about them, and you've got stuff you can show off and show people what you're doing. In addition to that, your alumni, here in a bit, not yet, don't run off, in the Platoon, ecosystem, and that's a good place to be, right? I get LinkedIn messages, Slack messages, text messages from people that I graduated with. I messaged Greg Goodness, what's Greg's last name? I'm gonna forget. Greg's Alpha Platoon, co-platoon. He works at DRW. I just talked to that guy the other day. It's a pretty wide, and we're getting bigger, but it's a pretty wide, group of people, and everybody's, we're coming from the same place, and we're happy to help each other out. And you're part of that now. Message me anytime. I knew I'd rant. I should have written something down. Umar, say some stuff, please. Take it away. Don't let me keep talking.
Alrighty. Hey everyone, my name is Omer. I'm one of the other co-instructors of the Evening and Weekend program. Like Jordan said, it's been a long 28 weeks, probably longer for you guys than it was for us, because for us this is our job and this is part of the fun. And I'm sure taking out 3 evenings a week and the entirety of your Saturdays is a massive commitment, to be sure. Especially again for almost 7 months. But that's culminated in you guys making these amazing presentations that are extremely unique and show the abilities that you guys have developed and honed over that time period. And the accomplishment that, I mean, compared to where you guys were 7 months ago, you guys are now pretty much software whizzes. I mean, like Jordan said, I'm thinking back to like week 1 and 2 where we're still getting used to going through the git, add, commit, and push routines, which are still confounding to many of us, even as instructors to this day, but at least writing down the sticky notes always helps. Or getting used to how array indexing works in Python, versus now you guys have developed entire applications entirely on your own. That's impressive. And when I look back and see what you guys have done as an instructor, it really makes me proud to see just how much you guys have accomplished in such a short amount of time. But it doesn't stop here. I mean, sure, you guys have learned Python, SQL, JavaScript, Django, React, HTML, CSS, and more through your projects. But that cycle of learning keeps going as you guys go into your professional careers. Because you guys don't just have a static set of skills. You guys have the biggest skill of all, the skill to learn new skills in a quick time period and apply them to different contexts. And I am very confident that as you guys transition out of your current roles and into the world of software engineering, you guys will be using that skill most of all. So Foxtrot, congratulations on getting to this point, and I'll turn it back over to Jordan from here.
All right. Let's get through this thing. Here are your Foxtrot Evening Weekends Platoon graduating students. Charles Lovelace, congratulations. Dylan Bullock, congratulations. Eden McKenzie, congratulations. Jordan Anderson, not here today. If you're out there, congratulations. I like the way you spell your name. Katya Borgos Rodriguez, congratulations. Matt Lachey, congratulations, dude. Matt Hemsworth, congratulations to you as well. Michael Meyer, congratulations. Ray Frederick, congratulations. Ricardo De La Rosa, congratulations. Sandy Fuentes, good job, congratulations. Tim Hughes, congratulations. Vincent Russo, congratulations. Congratulations, Foxtrot and Evenings Weekends Platoon. This concludes our ceremony for today. Thank you for participating in today's events. And good job, y'all. I'm proud of y'all. I'm going to stop sharing. Wanted